Hey y'all, it's y'all favorite cozy girl back again with another episode of Robe Chronicles. Today we're going to be talking about Married at First Sight, season 16, episode 17. And honestly, let's just get into it. One, I am tired of this season. I want it to be over. I cannot. I will, but I don't want to watch the remaining episodes. I'm just like, we are watching a bunch of people who are going to say no on decision day, with the exception of probably Nicole and Chris. And it's just so frustrating that these people are dragging on relationships that they themselves don't believe are going to work. It's infuriating at this point. And I've read the Reddit subs, I've read Twitter, and I think everybody feels the same way. And it's just like, it's almost insulting that the producers have I know they probably have a contract, but they should have said, we scrapping this season. We not gonna air this. This is a mess. We not gonna do it. But they're still airing it as if something is happening. So this episode starts out and Eris is like, oh, I have to go home. I have a mandatory work meeting. I was wondering why Jasmine stayed, but it actually appeared as if Eris was going to come back. So she was like, oh, I'm just going to seventh wheel it until he comes back. But at this point, I didn't realize that he was coming back. So Shaq, no, yeah, Shaq, Kirsten, Chris, and Nicole go to take these like little old-timey, Old West type photos. They were actually really cute. Those costumes were cute. I'm not gonna lie, it was a little cute idea. And they went to do it. And they were talking, and Nicole was, asking Kirsten's advice. Did I say Kristen before? But she was asking Kirsten's advice about how, she really has gotten used to living with Chris, and she wants her and Chris to leave this place and still live together and find a place, but they're having a hard time finding a place that would take 3 dogs and, for them to be together. And she's like, I just really want that. And I feel like Chris isn't really on that same page. And Kirsten gives her good advice. And I think also maybe being a realtor, but she was like, hey, do you want to live with him, or do you want to find a good place in which you can live with him and you guys don't have to make any concessions, right? Because you both have your dogs and you both want to take your dogs and keep your dogs with you. So most apartments aren't going to take 3 big dogs. Most places are going to say 2. That's the max. And then if you want to find a place to rent, some houses for rent won't take dogs because they don't want to have to deal with cleaning up after it if once you're out of there and not renting anymore. So Kirsten's kind of like, hey, you want to find the right place, and it might take a while. Don't try to rush it, because the truth is 8 weeks is a short time, and it's even shorter when you decide, okay, at this point, maybe at week 4, okay, we're going to live together. So now you just have 4 weeks to find a place to live with this person that's supposed to be your potential spouse. I kind of understand Chris's point of view, but I also understand Nicole's point of view, because it almost seems like Chris doesn't want to live with her, not the fact that they can't find a place. It sounds like he kind of wants to still keep his own space. And maybe he's nervous about going full throttle into this once this is over. I don't know. But it kind of does sound like he's a little hesitant, rather than they just aren't having any luck finding a place right now. Kirsten talks about how she doesn't know if her and Shaq are in a place to really make a decision, which, I mean, who cares if you're in a place, right? You got to make one. 8 weeks is going to come up, and you either got to say yes or you got to say no. So what do you mean? I don't know if we're really in a place to make a decision. Baby girl, a decision has to be made, right? And Kirsten and Shaq is talking about, oh, me and Kirsten are doing so much better, but we just can't seem to get on the same page. So you're not doing better, because you still not on the same page. Y'all still don't agree. Y'all don't like each other, really. If we can get down to the nitty gritty, I think Kirsten has done a good job of trying to like him, find love in him, find the good parts of him. But I ultimately think she doesn't like who he is and how he behaves. And I feel that Shaq feels the same way about Kirsten. He thinks she's beautiful. She is probably the girl he wants on his arm, but he doesn't probably really like her. So it's like they're both kind of just wasting each other's time. Anyways, they take the photos, and the photos are really adorable, really cute. I actually like them. And then all the couples went to this place called, I think, Lumberjack Feud to do some, coupley activities. Jasmine came by herself because she's seventh wheeling it because Eris wasn't back yet. Um, and it was actually they had this like tree climbing thing. Like, I don't think I would ever do it. I have a fear of heights, so I don't be doing nothing that go above certain heights. But it looked fun for those people that can do that and feel safe doing that. I'm not those people, but for those of you that do, it looked like a really fun activity. And it was really crazy how good Jasmine was at it. But I mean, I figured since she could climb the rock wall so well, it's not really that much of a surprise that she can climb a tree pretty well too. Jasmine and everyone seem to think that Eris is really changing, and it's so frustrating because I don't see it. And again, I don't know what they're seeing because again, there's 24 hours in a day. We get to see maybe 15, 20, 30 minutes of their interaction. But it was just like, I'm like, because what? He made that little impassioned speech? You think he's changing? Okay, girl, did he kiss you? Are y'all intimate? Not even, I'm not saying like having sex, but like, are y'all even acting like a couple? Like, I like you. Let me hug you. Let me hold you. Let me hold your hand. Like, what about him has changed when he hasn't changed those behaviors of wanting intimacy from you? Because the problem is, Eris wants intimacy. He just doesn't want it from you, Jasmine. And that's what's bothering me. So when they're like, oh, he's changing, I'm like, what changed? He don't want intimacy from that girl. He don't like her. And that's okay, right? But yes, that's not fake. Clint believes that there's a possibility that him and Gina can continue in the future, and he doesn't want to close it off. And I know people were predicting that means that he really likes her, and I don't think so. I don't think he likes her. I think he just knows that like she's actually cool, and if we could both get past or get over whatever it is that's holding us back, and actually, because I don't think Clint's gonna like somebody who doesn't actually physically show him emotion. He does not seem like that type of guy. So I don't think he likes her. Like, I think he would like her or maybe even fall for her if she was more emotional to him and more like loving and more flirtatious because, they're married. I could see him actually falling for her. But because she has such hard boundaries, and it's like, oh yeah, we're sleeping in the same bed, but like as friends, or we're in this space and together, but as like co-workers. Like, I mean, they both get paid. They really just co-workers. So let's cut the shit. Excuse my language. But they are just co-workers that happen to be in a marriage currently. But yeah, so I think he could fall for her. And then that's what's funny is because then Gina goes on to say that she's never really felt quite like a wife, and she doesn't think that her and Clint are really on that path. But the crazy thing is, and I've said this before, I'll say it again, I've noticed I repeat myself, but they be repeating themselves on the show, so I think it's warranted. But I think that she is keeping herself from feeling those things and getting into those spaces where she would feel wifely or as a lover to Clint. Like, even when I think somebody mentioned something, or maybe it was after party where they mentioned Clint cooking, and she kind of sees it as like, oh, well, he cooks for everybody. He likes to cook. It's like, girl, that's your man, and he's cooking for you. Maybe he don't season his food. Maybe it's not that delicious, but he's going out of his way to do that. That is an act of love for some people, to be cooked for, to be taken care of. You are choosing to see that as a friendship act. You're choosing to interpret that as something that is surface level, when for Clint that might mean more, right? Even though he cooks for everybody. I have a friend, she cooks for everybody, but it means something when she cooks for her man. It's different, And I think, like I said, Gina is trying to disregard that because she doesn't even want those feelings to come up. Like, Gina should have left after the honeymoon, but for some reason, she wanted the money. I thought she had her own thriving business in which she wouldn't need it, but baby girl needed the coin. So that's why baby girl is still here. She needed that. Because I don't even hear her saying anything or alluding to anything that would make me believe that she is actively trying to make this relationship work. And that's where I have a problem with her. She's there and she's going through the motions, but she has not changed or actively tried to make the relationship work. And let me tell you, even Eris, I don't want to say it, but even Eris has done things that have been active in his efforts. Granted, the result is the same, but he is active in like, asking questions, trying to bring up conversation, trying to do little things. Gina does none of that, but expects to feel like a wife or expects for this relationship to grow. Or maybe she doesn't expect it, and that's what she's hoping for. But girl, get off my TV screen because I don't want to see it. Then Kirsten talks about her and Shaq have a conversation in which she feels that her and Shaq aren't really talking enough. And Shaq's like, well, I think we talk more than enough. And right there, you could tell that they're just very different people, because what she believes is talking is not what Shaq believes is talking. Like, Shaq's like, you're trying to keep me up till 2 a.m. and I gotta sleep, And I feel like Kirsten wants to have those conversations that Eris was talking about being deep and getting into the nitty gritty of who each person is so that you could really understand the other person. Where Shaq kind of feels like, I hit you up and ask you how you are every day. Is that not enough? I know you have a dad, a mom, a sister, a brother. You good. Like, what else could you want? Whereas Kirsten, because she's more of like that onion that you have to peel back to get to the center and get to know her, she wants that from someone who's going to elicit her, like, get her to open up and say everything and kind of feel free. And she doesn't feel that way with Shaq, because Shaq don't question her. Shaq's just like, hey, how was your day? Oh, it was good. Or, oh, you had a bad day. What happened? And if she's like, oh, I don't want to talk about it, then Shaq's like, okay, cool. That's what I think. That's why she probably feels like Shaq doesn't talk to her, because she's looking for a different type of communication. She's looking for a different way for them to communicate. Like, she wants, a lot of people tired of the 21 questions as they get older, but I think Kirsten still likes that, and Kirsten still wants that. And so, like, they're just different people, ultimately. Like, that's just what it is. Clint and Gina have a talk, and Gina's practically crying because she, like, lost an employee. And I'm like, it's insane that the most emotion we've seen out of you in terms of this show is because your employee quit. Very telling. That's the only comment I have about that, because honestly, I'm no longer talking about Gina's business anymore. I will not be the person to promote it. She can promote it all she wants on MAFS. I'm not going to talk about it. I don't care. But she was talking to Clint, and she was like, oh, is this the first time you're seeing me cry? And Clint was actually very concerned and very, like, loving towards her. And I'm like, you don't feel like a wife. Like, he is really consoling you. Like, he is really trying to be there for you and provide help and love and, whatever. And you're just, I think Gina's just a really selfish person. I mean, she could just not like Clint, and that's okay. See, like I said, I don't want people to think that I think that she has to like Clint. I don't think so. I don't think she has to like Clint. I don't think she, but I also don't think that she should have continued with the process. I think she should have said, I don't like this man, I'm a dip. Or, hey, if you want to continue on, great. And maybe she said that to him. I don't know. We don't know. But that's the problem I have. We are all part of this fakeism, as my mom likes to say, this fakeism of them trying to pretend, or her trying to pretend, that she's working through this relationship, and she's just not. But she does say that she likes the fact that Clint is a good listener. And I'm like, yeah, because girl, all you do is talk. He ain't got no choice but to listen to you. You blah, 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 blah. Just always talking. He all got to listen to you. And I'm not saying Clint don't talk, because Clint talks a lot too. But I don't think you care to listen to him. And that's the difference between the two of them. Then Nicole and Chris go play mini golf. You know, it's funny because Nicole is like, she's having fun, but then she starts to get irritated because she's losing. And I'm like, Nicole got these little traits, and I don't think that they're so far off from normal traits. Like, I don't think they're not things that people don't have, but she hyper focuses on these traits, which then in turn makes other people hyper focus on these traits, which then makes you realize how annoying these traits are. And I think that in itself is an annoying trait, to always be like, oh, I hate that I do this. Oh, I do this. It's so bad. Oh, is this so annoying? Is this? And it's like, Nicole, girl, it's okay. He said he loved you. Like, you hyper focusing on the trait that's annoying is more annoying than probably the trait itself. So I don't know why, and I'm pretty sure it's an insecurity thing from the past, and probably people have told her, oh, you do this, it's so annoying. So now she tries to probably call it out before other people can call it out, that it's such an annoying trait, that it's so annoying or whatever. So that's what I'm thinking is happening here. But you know what, Nicole, you're good. You're good in my book. Don't be worrying about these little traits, and get to getting. Then Eris comes back and he's like, oh, I missed you. Or I don't think he said it to her. He said he kind of beat around the bush in actually telling Jasmine that he missed her. But he said it in his confessional that he was surprised by how much he actually missed her when he was like by himself and he didn't have the dog, and it was a quiet house, and he was like, okay, wait, I kind of got used to something, and it's different when you're not there. And she was kind of like, are you saying that you missed me? And it's like, yeah. But then I don't think that's like, I think it's genuine. Like, I do think he missed her, because obviously once you kind of get used to something, you've been sleeping in the bed next to somebody, you've been in a space, and now you're by yourself. I can imagine that it probably gets a little lonely, but I don't think it means that he likes her. I don't think that. I think he just missed what he was used to. Yeah. And he talked about keeping her in the loop, texting her what he was doing throughout the day, which again is him putting into practice the things that they asked him to, which is why I'd say Eris is better than Gina, because he actually does that. He actually puts into practice, not that he likes her, but he be putting into practice what they be asking him to do. And then Shaq and Kirsten are leaving early because Shaq has to work. And, Shaq's like, oh, I'm so glad she's leaving with me, and understood how much it would have meant. Kirsten doing it because of the show. Because I'm like, deuces, I'm going to stay here with the girls and have a good time. But actually, I guess if everybody's coupled up, it's better just to leave, because then you're, by yourself when when it happens. But, when everybody goes to bed and whatever. So I guess maybe it's like better for her to go back. But that's where I think Kirsten is doing better than Shaq. I feel like Kirsten is trying to accommodate Shaq's love languages and the way he works and the way he operates. Whereas I don't think Shaq is trying to give grace and accommodate Kirsten's love languages. He thinks she should conform to whatever it is that he does, because that's normal, or that's what people do. I don't know why, but I do believe that he has this idea that what he's doing and the way he loves and the way he interacts is normal, and what Kirsten's doing is the off one. So she has to come to him and do and manage how he is, rather than him saying, oh, okay, well, I see that my girl does this or likes this, so let me accommodate in that. Like, I don't think he sees that to be a thing that he needs to do. Yeah. Clint cooked again for everybody, obviously. Let me tell you, if my man liked to cook, if I had a man that liked to cook, I'd keep him. Even if he couldn't cook, I would teach him how to add seasoning to the stuff and be like, let's keep it going. Just add more seasoning, but we good. Gina is just so unappreciative. She playing, in my opinion. She playing. She not serious. Eris talks about thinking people should take stuff day by day. Of course he feels like that. I feel like when you know you want out, but you're still on this show and you're just trying to make it through, you gotta say stuff like that. That's what I'd like. You gotta say things like that to make it sound like there's still a chance, because obviously decision day is like the climax of the show, right? Like we are all building up to that, right? Like we think we know, but we don't know what people are gonna say. But I think this season everybody's kind of like, oh, we know what people are gonna say, you know. So it's kind of like producers are probably still asking them to kind of give that build up, so we don't really know, you know. um so then I think Chris tells Nicole what he loves most about her and what he doesn't like most about her. And he doesn't like that she goes so hard on herself. And like I said, I think it's probably a trauma response from people constantly telling her what they don't like about her. So she's just trying to beat these people to the punch and tell people what she doesn't like before they say it about her. And then Eris asks Jasmine what's the hardest thing for him. And she says not letting things be, and he says that she needs to speak up more. That was seems standard. Like I said, there are some couples that when they talk, I'm just like, okay, whatever. Like honestly, I don't really care because I know y'all not gonna say yes at the end. So these deep heart to hearts kind of just fall on deaf ears for me. I know that's bad, but I'm just like, okay, whatever. Clint asked Gina, when does he hurt her or something like that? And Gina was like, oh, you never do. But like, you know, sometimes you talk for me to like in a way that he's like talking down or like explaining to her rather than just talking to her for her to understand. I don't even know what that meant really. I think I do, but I kind of don't. I was a little confused. And Gina basically says, and then Clint basically says, Gina's worst trait is basically she's always on her phone. And I would hate that. I'm trying to get to know you. We only have 8 weeks. And every time I see you, you on the phone, girl, I'm finna break that phone. But he can't do that because people would call him crazy and controlling and all types of things. But at the same time, it has to be frustrating to be sitting in a room with somebody and they're just not paying attention to you because they're on the phone talking about, oh, I have to run a business. You went into business at 10 p.m., girl, sit down. Your hair salon is open from 8. If you didn't have the time to take away from your hair salon, you should not have been on this show. Simple. Then Clint asked everybody where's the craziest place that they had sex, just to kind of liven the mood, ask a silly question. And no one answered him, of course. And Gina looks uncomfortable, but again, that's probably just like editing. Because she did make a joke, because she said something about like, I think he said it was like at the beach or like a lifeguard stand. And she goes, was it with a human or was it like a dolphin? Like, so she made a joke, meaning that she wasn't like uncomfortable with the conversation topic, but I think she just doesn't like him. So the things he says aren't funny or endearing. Yeah. Nicole is really trying to finalize these post-decision day plans, but I think a part of her is still iffy. He probably has already told her that he's going to say yes on decision day, but for some reason, she needs him to like finalize so she can say, if we have an apartment together, he can't back out. That's what I think she thinks. She thinks if we have a place and we have a signed lease, then I know for sure, even though he told me he's going to say yes on the decision day, I'll know for sure he's going to say yes on decision day, because what's he going to do? Even if he says no, we still about to live together, because he can't back out of that. So I think that's what she's hoping for. I really believe in my heart that that's what she's thinking. I need something solid, concrete, signed, because his word is bond, but not really. Like, he's saying it, but it may not actually be. And that's Nicole's insecurity, right? It sucks, but that's just who she is. She needs something more than someone's word to know that what they're saying is true. Then they are going to breakfast and Nicole wants to dress up. She's like, oh, I want to wear these little dinosaur costumes up because I think it's gonna be funny. And Chris is like, well, I don't want to do it, but I'll do it. It's the same way he was with the shirt. Honestly, I think that's probably going to be their problem. Chris likes her, but he's not a fun person. Like, I've watched this and she seems more outgoing and wants to do fun, random things. And Chris isn't really that person. And if they can learn to love each other for who they are, for real, they'll make it. But if those things start to irk the other about the other, right? Then they won't make it. And that's the sad part. But I do think that these little things of her wanting to dress up and him being such a negative Nancy, like he does it, but he has to let everybody know, like, oh, I didn't want to wear this. I didn't want to do this. I'm like, dang, okay. Like, you didn't want to do it. Damn, just support your girl. You're already in the outfit, so why make a big deal that you didn't want to wear it? Like, either don't wear it or wear it and let the joke pass. Like, oh, it wasn't my idea, but Nicole wanted it, so whatever. It's funny. It's cool. But he was so, like, kind of even a little rude about pointing out that he didn't want to wear it. It was not his idea. Um, but yeah. And then they're talking about, this is the next day, so Shaq and Kirsten are gone. And they're like, everybody's asking, like, what do you need for the other person to do for you to say yes on decision day? And Eris is like, oh, I need Jasmine to speak up more. Jasmine can speak up as much as she wants, and Eris is still going to say no. We only got 6 days left, 5 days left, whatever it is. Like, please stop playing in our face. I hate when people play in my face, and that's what he's doing. He's playing in my face. Chris says he needs no more dinosaur outfits. Gina says she needs more communication. That's just a cop-out. That girl's saying no, no matter what. And honestly, maybe they'll stay friends, maybe. But I don't think, despite them being cool, I don't think Clint wants any more friends. Clint is a 40-year-old man. Like, yeah, Gina, you cool, but I want a wife. I don't want a friend. And if you just want to be friends, I have friends. And I get it, unless it was like such a bond where it was like, oh, I have to be friends. But I don't think Clint feels that. I think he feels like either we gonna make this work and you finna be my wife, or we gonna cut it off and it's over. We won't even talk. Like, we don't need to be friends. And that's what I feel. I feel like he's like, girl, you keep saying that, but I don't want to be your friend. But yeah, she says he also needs to be more open-minded, but I don't know what that means. I think Clint's a pretty open-minded guy. I just think, like I said, Gina's saying things, but they don't make sense because they don't actually mean anything. Yeah, so anyways, when they're driving home, every man, and I'm not saying it means nothing, but every man drove their girl back, except for passenger Princess Eris, who got driven back by Jasmine. I was like, they didn't make any comment about it. Like, the show didn't make no comment about it, but it was very obvious. Everybody got driven, every woman got driven back home by their man, but Jasmine was driving Eris back. I was like, he really want to be the bad bee in this relationship. He believes he is. And that is where they have a problem. You know, like I said, we're almost to the end, almost to the end. And I hope that they don't ever do another season like this. Hopefully they find true couples, not social media people who they think want to be on this show. Like, please, we liked Married at First Sight because we really saw people who wanted to be married. So even if it didn't work, they were people who wanted to be married. So please like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think about these couples. We're getting to decision day. Tell me who you think is going to last, what you guys see in store for these people. I know we've been seeing little clips of, I think, Clint and Dominique, or Gina and McKinley. So I'm interested to know what everybody's thoughts are, even those couples. And we'll be back for episode 19, 20, whatever. We'll just get us to the end. All right. See you guys next time. Bye.